here we are. We made it. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me today. Oh, this has been an exciting week getting ready for this YouTube Live. This is the first time I've ever done one on YouTube. So if there's any glitches or issues, just please bear with us. I mean, we're trying to iron out, okay, he's trying to iron out a few little things. I got the single, like, hey, like, what's this wee stuff? I got a mouse in my pocket.
In other words, you can blame me for anything.
No, we're not going to blame him, but we are trying to just sort of navigate our way through this because it is completely new to me. He knows a bit more than I do, so it's all good. So today we are going to paint It's Time for Tea, which I think is a really fun one. And this is a relaxed one because it's not a difficult paint, but it does use a whole bunch of fun techniques, and I think you're going to enjoy this. It is fun. In fact, it's so much fun that I've painted it twice this week because I wanted to have a new sample done. I went tearing through some stored items and for the life of me could not find my original piece. And then I remembered that it's probably with the gang at Bear With Us. So if you are looking for the surface, you're going to find it with Bear With Us. They have it. It's at www.bearwithus.inc.com. So check them out. They've got some great surfaces and some great supplies. And from what I hear, they've got some great sales on this week too. So check them out. So yeah, I painted this thing twice this week because I didn't have a surface. And then I remembered that we actually have two designs in that pattern, two different teacups. So you have your pick, and I figured I should probably have one of each. So now I've got two. The surface that I used in the original piece is actually quite small. So I enlarged the design by 125% and put it on a much larger surface for today. So if you're wondering, I'm just sort of filling you in ahead of time what I've done. And what else? Oh, we have a nice giveaway this week. Really nice giveaway. Oh, yeah. Thank you muchly. We have two sets of Stampenda stamps and, of course, my favorite gel pen. So two people are going to get one of these. And to do that, all you have to do is leave a comment in the comment section and hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. And that will get you entered for one of our prizes this week. So what do you think? Are we ready to go there, sunshine? Apparently we are. Boop, boop, we are. So this is the piece we're painting. It's Time for Tea. This is a fun paint. There's a lot of really fun techniques in this one. It's not all that difficult to do. You don't need to have a ton of supplies. The original pattern calls for some Americanas, but it also calls for quite a few of the fluid acrylics. And unfortunately, the fluid acrylics are really difficult to get. Come to that, some of the Americanas are really difficult to get right now. So I sat down the other night while I was painting this sample and sort of thought through ways that we could substitute. Now, of course, I have tons of the fluid acrylics here in the studio, but I'm finding I'm also running out of certain colors in the Americanas. So I had to figure out our color palette. So you'll have to forgive me if the color palette does not match the pattern because I don't have a lot of those colors. So I kind of had to go with what I had available. And so I thought it would be fun if we did exactly that. So to get started, this is our base. Now, I started with a black base coat and my favorite fugly brush. And I put one coat of warm white. Not very neat, not very tidy. I wanted some vertical lines in this, but I wanted that white color and I wanted variations in it. So you can see that there's all sorts of different lines and marks and brush marks. And then once that was dry, I took my little sanding disc and just gave it a quick sand just to smooth out any rough bits and whatnot. Neatness doesn't count for this. I just wanted to get some of those rough brush marks smoothed out a little bit. And there we go. So I'm not really worried about perfection. Neatness doesn't count and perfection is to be avoided at all costs. So I'm just distressing the edges a little bit because I've got some bumps of paint. There we go. Now I've got a nice smooth surface. So our next step, now ordinarily at this point I would do all of my stamping, but that would be when I'm using the fluid acrylics. I'm not using fluid acrylic. I'm using the more opaque Americana colors. So that means that we have to sort of alter our process a little bit to accommodate for these more opaque colors. So the original piece called for some diarrhea yellow, that really in-your-face yellow, and it called for a primary magenta, and it called for a nice bright orange, and it also called for maybe a little diox, and it called for some cobalt teal hue. So I had to substitute those, and so we're using Bahama Blue, Scarlet, Primary Red, Saffron Yellow, and Lavender. So I've got all of these colors ready to go. I'm going to put a little bit out on my palette and then I can put them away so I'm not blocking the camera.
Thank you.
I'm getting the evil eye from camera guy here. So a little bit of lavender. I like lavender, pretty color. And the saffron yellow, good grief. I ran out of warm white this morning, so I had to make some. And I mixed a little bit of titanium white. Well, actually a lot of titanium white with a little bit of buttermilk to get that warm white tone. And then this last color is the scarlet. Now, this is actually a red, but when I put it on this surface and it gets a little more transparent.
Perfect piece. I drink a lot of tea.
This is a fun piece. It's bright and it's colorful and it's fun to do. So I'm using a piece of shop towel, just a good old fashioned. I cut one in 4 pieces and I'm making a little applicator out of it, which means I'm just bundling it up a little and then I'm getting it wet.
Do I dare turn off slow mode?
I don't know. Do you dare turn off slow mode?
I don't know.
So we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner with a little bit of that primary red. And I'm just picking it up on that high-tech applicator. And I'm going to apply it to this corner in a circular fashion. And I'm going to change directions. So I just want to sort of move that color around.
Slow mode is off. Oh God, mistakes were made.
A little too fast now.
We're good. It's all good.
So I'm just putting a little bit of color in like that. I'm going to set that applicator aside and I'm going to make another one. And
Snowing in Oxfordshire.
Oxfordshire, England?
Yeah.
Is that Sarah Webley?
That is Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. How are things in Oxfordshire? Lovely part of the world. So the next color I'm going to use is a little bit of Bahama Blue. And I'm going to put that in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to come right over until the 2 colors overlap. And again, neatness doesn't count for this. And you can put on as much or as little as you like. I just like to do this in layers and let the colors blend easily. So I don't want perfect squares through here. So you can see that I'm sort of leaving an open space in the middle. So I'm going to set that blue one aside. And I'm going to make another applicator.
Robin Storm says, I love the applicator.
My high-tech applicator. Now I'm going to, for this lower corner, this is where that scarlet comes in. And this is where you'll really see that it has that bright orange look. This color is so intense. I love scarlet. So as you can see,
Another high-tech applicator.
another high-tech applicator for the scarlet. And again, I'm not making perfect squares. I don't want this to come off looking like it's 4 distinct squares. like that. And then we make one more applicator for the orange, or for the yellow, I'm sorry. So I love saffron yellow. This is one of my favorite yellows because it's like an in-your-face school bus yellow. And I make sure that that color overlaps with the other colors that I've put on. Just like so. Now I've left a little space here in the middle for our fifth color, which is that lavender. So another high-tech applicator. And I want a little bit of purple in the middle here. So there we go. So you can see that this is not a neat and tidy process. So I'm going to go back to my red applicator and I'm going to do this again. So I put that second layer of color on and look what happens. Some of that, you know, messy, swirly, I've been put on with a paper towel look starts to disappear. And then back into that Bahama blue. And don't forget, you gotta let those colors merge. This is what's going to make all the difference, is when those colors start merging.
You get some new colors.
You get new colors. And then we're gonna go to that scarlet. And I like keeping the darkest value of this to the outside corner.
You think I can handle this non-perfect approach?
The non-perfect approach, it works every time. I like this neatness doesn't count thing. Nobody's going to grade you on perfection. Well, perfection is impossible to achieve. So, you know, why put that much pressure on yourself?
Unless you're me.
Unless you're you?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
You're cute and all, but
I know. My dog's cute.
your dog is adorable. Miss Dot nearly killed me yesterday. I tripped over the puppy.
There's Miss Linda Sofranco.
Renee loves to see her name. He just likes to say it, I think.
Linda Sofranco.
Linda Sofranco. So there we go.
Hey,
So
where's Miss Trouble?
Miss Trouble, Miss Deb, might be a little early for her yet.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, she's teaching today, I believe.
Oh, is she?
Yep.
Okay.
Miss Sandy is teaching today too.
I saw Sandy in here already. She ain't teaching.
Oh, she is teaching today.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
Okay.
she is. She has a Zoom class today.
Zoom class. Right on.
I know she's teaching this amazing winter piece. With gorgeous trees and this little snowman. It's a beautiful winter piece. It's gorgeous.
No, I'm not going to say it because I don't think that video was released yet, was it?
Which video?
The Craft Minute?
No, pardon me. No.
No. Okay.
So,
But that piece?
oh, she does this gorgeous. No, that's not the
No.
piece. No, Sandra does this gorgeous winter scene. It's all shades of blue and lavenders, and it's gorgeous. Okay, so I've done a couple of layers of each of these colors. I do like my Bahama blue. It's my favorite Americana color.
Almost a rainbow when you look at it.
Yeah. So it does look kind of chunky at first.
Chunky.
Well, you know, the color looks kind of blocked.
Bleh.
Yeah. Not blocked. Where's my orange? There it is.
Pixelated.
Okay, that's a good word, I suppose. So essentially, we're going to let these colors all run together. I love this yellow. Love this yellow.
Are you doing this with all Americana?
This is all done with Americana.
Oh, okay.
Ordinarily, I would do this with the fluid acrylic, but they're really hard for people to get these days. So I thought it would be a good idea to sort of translate this into some other colors. We'll put a list together.
I'm really surprised that there hasn't been any questions lately.
No questions?
No.
Wow.
That means you're doing your job.
It does mean it means that nobody's confused. So I do like I love this purple, this lavender is so pretty. I'm into purple these days. I don't know what it is. Never used to be, but lately I'm all about the purple. I was doing one of Sandy's journal pages the other day from our OG group, and I just couldn't seem to put down the purple. I was using purple and mint. That's another, it's a color I don't often use, but for some reason I just started using mint.
Somebody from Moreau.
So there we have it. I think I'm good. I think I'm where I want to be. I love how bright these colors are, but I have a stage coming up that's going to subdue these quite a bit. So I'm going to move all my little high-tech applicators out of the way.
Super high tech.
Yes, super high-tech. And anybody that knows me knows that the next color coming out is going to be a Schwaltem. So
No.
hard to believe, but there it is. So. Okay, I'm just going to quickly dry this. And now I have this is really cool. I love this technique. This is fun. I've got a stays on stamp pad. That's these ones here. And I'm going to age the edges of this a little bit, and by using the stamp pad. So the tighter the angle that I hold it at, the more of it gets on the surface. So I'm rubbing along the edge, and I'm going back and forth and changing the angle so that I get more of the stamp pad on the surface.
Oh, you finally got a question.
Yay!
Tracy.
Whatty?
Once the fluid acrylics become available, what colors do you recommend to start with, especially since there are more expensive and have to buy a little at a time?
Yes, they are a little bit pricier than your standard Americana. And yes, I do have some recommended colors. 90% of the time I work with what could basically be called a primary palette when I'm working with these fluid acrylics. So my suggestion is this. Get yourself a bottle of primary magenta.
Here, look at the camera. Get your face there.
Okay, there's my face. You need a bottle of primary magenta, not quinacridone. You need green gold, cobalt teal hue, diarylide yellow, and a diox purple. And then you've got a good variety to get started with. The black and the white you can utilize with the Americanas because those colors are probably the most opaque that you're going to find in the fluid acrylic. So ideally, use some nice bright colors that you like. If you don't get the primary magenta, then get the quinacridone magenta because that's like vivid violet. It's got this rich, bold, in-your-face reddish with a touch of violet in it. It's beautiful. So that is what I would recommend. Stick to those nice, bright, transparent colors. Get a red, get a blue, get a nice green, get a good yellow. From there, you can do almost anything.
There we go.
So that is my recommendation.
Boom.
So I'm gonna...
I turned away from the chat for 1 second.
So I'm going to finish off this edge. I like this sort of broken edge look. It kind of makes it look like a worn out old sign.
Oh, newcomer asking if these are all fluid acrylics.
The ones we're using today are all Americanas. I'm just using basic Americana acrylics for this one, primarily because the fluid acrylics are very difficult to come by these days, as are most of the Americanas for that matter, but most of us have Americanas in our stash, so it's a little different. So I'm going to dry this ink real fast. This is a handy rig, this heat gun. I have mine set to min, to the lowest setting, so it's not so blistering hot that it burns the paint. And I'm using very thin layers of paint, so I'm not cooking paint or the top of it.
Speaking of asphaltum, what are your thoughts on using raw umber as a replacement?
I don't recommend raw umber, primarily because raw umber is designed to kill color. It is meant to neutralize color. So it has a tendency to flatten out and take some of the potency out of colors, and I don't particularly care for that. So if you don't have asphaltum, and I know it's difficult to get, I would recommend using a burnt umber. It doesn't have the yellow hue that the asphaltum does. It has a slightly red undertone. It will mute colors a little bit, so use it sparingly. But I would prefer to use a burnt umber as opposed to a raw umber.
Are you only on YouTube now? I was looking for you on Facebook.
No,
This is just a trial.
This was a trial. We wanted to see how it would work on the YouTube channel. Mainly because it's going to save us quite a few steps, but this one also allows us a bit more time and a few more other options that we don't have on Facebook. So today we decided we were going to run this one on Facebook and see how it went. And if it wasn't too problematic and it wasn't too difficult for people to find us, then we'll see how this goes today before we make a decision.
Well, there's 132 of them watching right now.
Oh, nice. So I made another high-tech applicator.
Yeah.
And this time I picked up a little asphaltum.
Wait, is there an apple on it?
No.
Oh, well, I'm surprised. No apple product.
Smart ass. Oop, there goes our PG rating.
Yeah, now we're PG-13.
So I'm doing the same thing I did with the color, only I'm just keeping it to the edge of this piece. If you want to, you can float this color in. I'm just being lazy. And I'm going to use this cloth to put it on. It's just a little asphaltum to warm up that edge, darken it a little bit, and at the same time tone that black. Keep that black from being too harsh and too cold.
Are all your paints just sitting in that tray?
Oh, these are the colors we're using today, what I have in here.
That's not all of her paint. Nor is the rack behind her.
We have discussions about my paint collection.
Problem? I mean...
Collection.
Problem?
It's not a problem.
Addiction? I mean...
Uh-huh.
It's not an addiction if you're being paid to do it.
It's an obsession.
An obsession. Also, now it's a mental health problem.
Whatever.
All right. I'm happy to see purple used, my favorite color.
I like that little splash of purple in there. It, I don't know, it just sort of brings everything together, I think. Okay, so I've got that little bit of asphaltum in there.
Will that ink run when you varnish?
No, it will not.
Special ink.
This is the one thing I love about my Stays On stamp pad. I haven't found another one that works as well. This one dries very quickly. And it doesn't, I can spray this, I can brush varnish over top of it. It doesn't budge. I love this stamp.
Wow. I ordered my brushes from the brush guys in December. I got them on Thursday.
Yeah, the mail's been terrible.
It wasn't their fault. They arrived in Canada on January 5th, and Canada Post held them for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Wow.
Canada Post has such a terrible backlog. I mailed my partner in crime's Christmas gift on the 2nd of December, 4th or 2nd of December, and she got it on Monday. It was 6 weeks to go from one side of the country to the other. Okay, so, oops, I just goofed. There we are. All right. I actually rubbed more paint off than I put on.
Tammy, I'm a paint addict.
Welcome to the meeting, Tammy.
Is this called PAA?
No, there's nothing anonymous about us.
We're quite vocal about who we are.
So I've got a thing of asphaltum all the way around the outside edge. And I'm going to dry this real quick. Because once this is dry, I'm going to put some asphaltum over everything.
Wow. We're actually getting people saying they prefer you on YouTube.
Oh, really? Nice. I'm thinking we might have fewer glitches.
I don't know if it's the quality,
I don't know.
it being live. I don't know.
So I'm taking that applicator with a little asphaltum in it, and I'm going vertically a little bit, and I'm putting a layer of asphaltum on top of all my color. Now what this does is this acts as a toner. It just sort of brings everything together, softens some boundaries between colors.
Definitely the quality. Okay.
And by applying a little bit of pressure as I'm doing this, I'm actually pulling a little bit of color off. And so you can see that texture that I left in the paint.
It's a heat gun.
Oh,
He's using a heat gun.
it is a heat gun, yes. It's a very old heat gun, but it is a heat gun. Give you an idea how old it is. I got this one when I got my first set of Genesis heat set oils.
Oh, wow.
And that's got to be close to 20 years ago. And I had 2 of them. I killed one just recently.
That would have been in Petawawa.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So now I'm going to dry this again. And we're ready to put that next step on. Now remember I talked about putting the stamps on. Ordinarily they would go on while this was still white. But because I'm using a more opaque color, I didn't want to bury the stamp completely. So
I thought the obsession with paint was a requirement when you paint.
it is.
Okay.
It's in the job description. So I have, this is my favorite stamp. It's made by Stampendous. And this one is, let me tell you the item number. It is CRP 249. It is called Vintage Note. And you can find this stamp. Actually, I am currently out of stock, but my partner in crime, Deb, has them on her website at paintingwithdeb.com. So you can find that on her website. She's got tons of stamps in, by the way, like some really great stamps.
Okay, I got somebody saying that they're watching it on Facebook right now.
Really?
I'll look into that.
So I'm taking my Vintage Note stamp and I'm applying this at the outside edge like so. I kind of want to apply that this is, done on a sheet of paper of some sort. So I'm letting it go off the page.
Shouldn't be live on Facebook unless somebody's hijacking our stream.
So,
Nope.
there we go.
I think somebody's hijacking the stream.
Oh, they might have.
Yeah, they're rebroadcasting.
Who is?
Somebody.
Somebody.
If you're watching it on Facebook, that's not us. They're literally taking the stream from YouTube and putting it on.
Unless they're watching through the link I put up on Facebook.
Well, then it should go straight to YouTube.
Which, yeah, so they linked through Facebook.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if they're watching it on Facebook, that's an issue.
Okay. Well, we can find out. So I've got this stamp all the way around the outside. Now, I don't worry about this being legible. I don't even use the whole stamp. I'm just using a portion of the stamp. So, as you can tell, because I use this part a lot, it's rather crammed up. And then I'll take 1 or 2 places where I put a little bit like this, just to imply that, that this is a sheet of paper. And because I have so much going up here, I'm not really worried too much about having a lot up there. So, and then once you've completed that, that is it. That is all you need that stamp for. I do love this Vintage Note's my favorite stamp. I use it on so many things.
Good morning from Texas.
So now I'm going to dry this ink really quick, and then we're going to do the last step for this background.
They asked Tracy, "Are you a military family? We spent 3 years in Petawawa."
Yes, we are a military family.
Yeah. I lived in Petawawa with them, then I lived in Petawawa for a year and a half on my posting.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah, I spent 6 years in Pet.
6 years in Pet?
Yep. Notice that you can tell when it's a military family because we don't actually say Petawawa.
Yeah.
We just call it Pet. No. Yeah, we have
Used to have to travel to Pembroke to get a McDonald's.
Yeah, once upon a time, yeah.
Now there's a McDonald's
everywhere.
Mind you, it's still off base.
When we moved back here to the East Coast, almost 12 years ago, that was my 30th move.
30th?
That was my 30th move. I come from a military family too, so yeah. 30th move. Lived in every province and territory except British Columbia and Newfoundland.
You've been up north?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And well, I've lived in 7 different states, and I've lived
countries?
4.
4 different countries?
4, 5.
4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5.
It's getting bigger.
Yep, it was 4 or 5. So
it was
yeah,
much easier to connect live on YouTube this week. Oh,
excellent. So I have 3 stencils out. I know the original pattern only called for 2. Called for a 1/4" polka dot, and it called for...
One good thing about this virus is I found such wonderful artists.
Oh yes, there's all kinds of us out there.
There you go.
So the stencils that I used were the 1/4" polka dot and the 1/8 polka dot in the original piece, or even a 3/8 polka dot. And it doesn't really matter about the size of the larger polka dot. This time around, I decided to do something different. I'm really a huge fan of this 1/2" Harlequin. I love how it looks. I love how it draws the eye around the various pieces that I do with them. It's just a favorite. So I'm going to put this on my surface. Now I've taken it off the page. There's a reason why I do that. If I were to do this so that it just stayed inside, it would look very blockish and square, and it would just stop. So I like to take it off the page, like so, because by doing this, it allows the eye to think that, you know, that design continues elsewhere. It doesn't look so heavily structured. So I like to use that way. And I secure my stencil in place with a little bit of painter's tape. I'm going to grab a stencil brush. I'm going to use my favorite. This one I'm using is a synthetic. It's a Dynasty Stencil Pro stencil brush. It's a synthetic, not a natural hair. I like these for stenciling for a couple of reasons. One, they're very easy to keep clean. They do not break. Bristle doesn't break off. They don't dry out, and they have a synthetic flag, which is that soft part at the very end of the brush. And so you get a really nice uniform finish. I mean, even if you've never stenciled before, you can get a great finish with one of these brushes. So when I'm doing this on this piece, I don't want this to be perfectly opaque. In fact, I don't want it to be perfect at all. So I'm not covering the whole stencil. I'm actually only doing a few, and some of them I'm sort of skipping over. Some I'm not completing. And I kind of like that broken effect. So I'm going to flip this and see if I like it. Yep. So now I'm going to move the stencil down. And I'm going to do it this way because I want it to go off the page. So I'm just going to line up the stencil, put it in place, load up the brush, And I'm going to there we go. Now I only want a little bit.
Oh, Faye reads from New Brunswick as well.
Yeah. Faye's from near Sussex, if I'm not mistaken. Everything's near Sussex. That's true. Not that anything in New Brunswick is very far away, but yeah, she's from just outside of Sussex. So there is our Harlequin over top of that blue. And you can see it's imperfect. Nothing is fully opaque. I can still see the stamping through it. It breaks off. And so it draws the eye down. So this is where I'm going to take my 1/4 inch polka dot, because I love my 1/4 inch polka dots. And again, I'm taking that so that the dots go off the page. And I'm taping it in place. And I'm going to do the same thing to this that I did with the diamonds. I'm not going to pay too much attention to getting it perfect. I kind of want this broken up. I don't want the dots to be fully opaque. I want them to be imperfect. So if you only get one that's half done, that's cool. Like that. And check. And I like it. So then I'll move my stencil. And I'm going to line it up best I can. I'm not looking for perfection. And I'm going to finish off the bottom a little bit.
Oh, Jessica Killeran.
Jessica Killeran.
Lives in Cushing, Maine.
Oh, she's not far away.
No, she's not.
No. So I want to take that diamond catty corner. So I'm going to pull the Harlequin over here. And again, I'm going off the page.
What do we got here? Robin R. Where was your favorite place to live?
Italy. That's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
That one's an easy one for me.
Been there too. Nice.
I studied in Florence and in Rome and Venice for a little while, and I love it. The Italian people. I loved Italian food. I loved everything about their culture and their mannerisms, and most especially the art. So you know what? In another life, I think I was born in Italy somewhere. Everything about it appealed to me. And you know, if I had my druthers, I could easily live in Positano. It's one of my favorite places that I ever visited when I was there. It was just a beautiful, beautiful country. And the people are amazing. There, I've got my Harlequin in that lower corner. And again, I left them broken. I don't want to fill the space completely, so I left it rather broken. Now I'm going to switch back to this 1/4 inch.
We just got a message from YouTube.
Oh.
They've extended our live rate.
Okay.
So we're allowed to stream for up to 2 hours.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah. Based
on subscribers and our viewership right now.
Oh, nice.
So, thank you, YouTube. That's nice of you.
So
I was a little worried about that because there was a cap that said 1.5 hours.
Okay.
For our live, and I was like, all right.
So there we go. I've got some more polka dots on here. Ooh, I like that. And I think I'm just going to leave this little spot quite blank. I kind of like it. So there we have our polka dots and our Harlequin on this surface. And at this point, it is ready to trace and transfer your design on. Of course, now because I've stenciled, I've put some color right over top of our nifty little border there. So I'm going to take my stamp pad and I'm just going to, in a few spots.
Oh, don't know if I should remove that. But, do you know Fam Arts and Crafts?
No.
No.
Why?
They're asking people to subscribe to their channel.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay, well.
Sorry. I am Canadian, but
It's all right.
I
So there is our base. And all of our teacup and our lettering is going to be painted on this base.
yay for YouTube. They like Tracy too.
Oh, I'm glad. So I'm going to dry this and then I'm going to set it aside. Now, if you find that these dots and harlequin are a little too bright, there is another stage that you can go through, and that is quite simply this. You take another high-tech applicator and a little bit of asphaltum, and you can subdue this. There's no harm in going back over with another layer of asphaltum. None whatsoever. This knocks them back a little.
Oh, there's Karen.
Hi, Karen. She's called me twice this week, and I've been so busy that I haven't called her back.
Oh no!
I know.
You're gonna hear from her now.
I can hear that accent from here.
She just said, "Good afternoon, Tracy and Renee." And I know exactly the type of tone.
I miss that little island accent terribly. So there, I've toned back our harlequin,
Can't wait to try it.
and I toned back those polka dots. Now what that toning does is it sort of unifies and brings all of that background together so that those dots don't look like they're floating above the surface. So even though I've used fully opaque acrylics to do this background, we still have the...
You are forgiven.
I'm forgiven?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Even though I've used the fully opaque in the background, using the stamps after the fact and then stenciling over that implies transparency. So it still gives you that same look as the fluid acrylics do. So, maybe not quite as intense, but it still gives us the same look.
Took me 43 minutes to do the back.
That's because the rest of it's going to go quick. Mr. Clock Watcher here.
I have to. If it goes over a certain time limit, I can't post it on the channel.
So there we go. There is our background.
Then I have to do something called cut editing.
No.
Then we have, part 1, part 2, part 3.
No, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So there we go. We've done our background. Now, I've already prepped one ahead, obviously, because it'd be here for a month of Sundays if I didn't base coat things. So in the pattern, there are 2 different line darings, so that the teacups are different. There's one that looks like this, and then there's one that has this, bit more curvy type teacup and less formal, but the idea is the same. So for this one, because I'm on that much larger surface, I had to enlarge this by 125% to make it fit on this big piece. So it is all base coated and ready to go. So I'm going to do something right now before I forget.
And white graphite paper? Or?
I used white and gray. I started out with just the white, but I couldn't see it on the lighter background, so I had to switch it over. It was fine over the darker colors, but so I did. I used white and gray. And now I'm trying to get something off here. Mother of pearl. Okay. So I'm going to take my scissors.
Where'd you get the larger surface?
This one actually is from Cupboard Distributing.
Oh, CD Wood.
It's from cdwood.com, these big arched panels. I love this surface. I like the smaller surface too. a great deal. I just didn't have any. Otherwise, I'd have used it. But so I'm cutting out the tea tag that's on the line drawing.
Yes, they said we have more time for the live. I still have to keep it under 2 hours for post video.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to create parts.
Yeah. So I'm going to cut out my tag, the tea tag that's on there that has the word "it's" on it.
Yep.
I'm cutting it out of the paper because I thought it'd be fun if we did something with the tag. So there's two methods that we can use to do this tag. We can paint it on, or we can use decoupage or matte medium to do this. So, I got to have some fun. So that's one less thing for you to trace and transfer if you do it this way too. But we're going to have a little bit of fun and age this paper and whatnot. So we're going to start adding color to this rose.
Look at that graph.
And
That's a nice graph.
he's pleased with his graph.
I'm happy. I like seeing growth. Growth is good.
So I'm going to show you two ways to do this. I have a small point blender right here. I'm going to get that nice and wet. And I have my angled shaders, of course, and a couple of liners, and I think I'm good to go. But I am going to change my palette.
Roof slate tiles.
Oh yeah, those clay tiles.
Roof slate tiles?
Yeah.
He's thinking this pattern would work very well with this surface.
Yeah, it would. Those big, I know the ones she's talking about. They're a fair size. Yeah, it would work well on this.
Where can I get white graphite?
Decoart.com. I love Decoart's white graphite paper.
Boom.
Their white graphite, I have found just seems to work the best, and it doesn't wear out as quickly as some. It's also actually quite easy to remove. All you need is a good eraser. I have a couple of tricks that I can show you with white graphite. But so the color ordinarily would be primary magenta to shade this pink rose. I base coated it with carousel pink because it was the closest I could find to the color I asked for. And my highlight color for this is going to be electric pink.
It's rude to pull on Tracy's shirt tails. Mom.
He's always jerking my chain. He might as well.
I'm out of coffee.
So, the first color I'm going to work with is alizarin crimson. Ordinarily, I would be using primary magenta for this, but I'm going to use alizarin crimson. And I've got my point blender quite wet. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that alizarin on the tip of the brush.
I gotta zoom in here. Where are you painting?
I'm in here.
Here in the rose? You can bring it closer to you if you want.
Okay. That's it.
Perfect.
So I'm going to come in close to these areas in here with that point blender, and I've got the belly of the brush right on the surface. And essentially, I'm using it like a crayon.
Love the sponge trick. It works very well. Yep.
Yes, it does work very well.
Do you wash those brushes like your regular brushes?
Yes, I do. These ones, more or less get a lick and a promise, and at least once or twice a week they get a good cleaning. But
You should see your fugly brush.
my fugly brush is called a fugly brush for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm just adding color as if this was a crayon. So I'm floating that color in with the tip of the brush, and then I'm using the belly to blend it out. That's a fugly brush.
Look at that thing. Deplorable.
It's deplorable, but it's a wonderful brush.
I hope Veronica's watching. Hey, look, another one.
I do like my fugly brushes.
Look at me.
He's an evil child. Don't listen to him. So there it is. I'm just using that point blender.
They love your fugly brushes.
I love my fugly brushes too.
What is a point blender?
Point blender is, this is actually a brush that was developed for mixed media. It's an IPC point blender made by Dynasty. IPC stands for ink, pastel, and chalk. So this brush was designed for working with a variety of media. It just happens to work exceptionally well with acrylics. And I love that I can, tuck that little point into places nice and neat. So essentially, I'm just scumbling color in.
What size?
This one is the small. If you're looking for them, I know that the brush guys have some. I don't know how many. When I was on their site the other day, they still had some in stock. But if you can't find them at the brush guys, go to paintingwithdeb.com. She's got them in sets. I know she has them in stock because I was talking to her yesterday.
There you go. Painting with Deb.
So I'm just
Painting
fixing
with
a goof that I
Deb.com.
made.
We got you, Deb.
So I'm just, rubbing that color in. It's like working with a giant crayon. I love it.
You probably mentioned this, but what kind of puppy is Dot?
Dot is a Dutch Shepherd.
Yeah.
I wish I had a photo on the photo prepped so we could show people Dot. She's beautiful.
Actually, I think I can add one in here.
She's a spoiled baby. She's in the family file.
Is she in the family file?
Of course she is. Miss Dot is a certified service dog.
Oops. Not that one.
And she's done search and rescue.
Drug sniffing.
Drug sniffing.
People sniffing.
People sniffing.
She does that a lot, though.
Yeah. She's an absolute sweetie.
And she's recovering from an injury of some sort.
Yeah. Miss Dot hurt herself. And so she's
Taking it easy.
she's taking it easy for the next little bit.
Family? Family. There it is.
Family album. She should be
Oh,
in there.
that picture.
That picture.
Okay.
This is Miss Dot.
That picture.
That's our lovely Miss Dot. We love our Miss Dot.
There
So
she is.
that's how easy it is to work with that point blender. Now, while I've got you here, one of you a couple of weeks ago had asked, I use Joe Sonia's fast drying glaze a lot. Well, it has been very difficult to get, and I am currently down to my last little dribble. And someone asked me if the Joe Sonia flow medium would work just as well. And I honestly had to say I had no idea because, one, I didn't have any, and two, I had never used it. So I thought that I would have a look and see if I could get any, which I did. I managed to get 2 little 2-ounce bottles of the flow medium. And so I've been playing with it for the last couple of days. I'm going to put a little bit on the palette, just a drop. Now, my brush is wet, not dripping, but it is wet, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of that flow medium and work it into my brush. And I'm going to pick up a little of that alizarin crimson.
Do fluid acrylics work with point blenders?
Yes, they do. They work beautifully with point blenders.
Yeah. Holy. Aw.
Oh
Does that
my.
sounds like a beautiful animal. She is beautiful. Oh my god, oh my god. Aw, she's beautiful, she's beautiful.
She is beautiful, Miss Dot, and she is such a sweetie. She is an absolute sweetie. So yes, and to answer that question about the flow medium, it works beautifully. So I've been using it this week because I'm really missing my Joe Sonia's, and I've been using the Magic Mix, but it just doesn't work quite the same way as the
Long
Joe
or short
Sonia's.
handles, a preference or a specific reason?
Now, long handles actually have a reason in fine art painting, because the idea being to keep your distance from the canvas so that you can see clearly what it is you're doing. Decorative painting, this type here, is a close-up job, so we use brushes with a short handle because the long handle is impractical. So I'm a huge fan of the black gold, as everybody knows. I am a Dynasty girl.
Who knew?
But my absolute favorite brushes of all time are the faux squirrel. And for a couple of reasons. One, they are essentially a watercolor brush. They were designed to work with watercolors, which means that they hold a ton of liquid, which makes them ideal for acrylics because they hold a ton of paint. So that's my preference. I like my faux squirrel. So I am just loosely floating in color. You'll notice that where I used the point blender, I got more color in than I did with the float, simply because it holds a lot more paint. But I usually put it on in multiple layers anyway, so.
If you don't have a point blender, what can you use?
You can use any of your regular acrylic brushes. If you prefer to work with a round, use a round. If you like to float with a angled shader or a flat shader, use the flat shaders. Use what you're comfortable with. Point blenders are a fun brush.
They're a handy brush.
And they're very handy. But if you can't get them, then you can resort to what you use most of the time anyway. So I know I do. I love working with my black gold or my faux squirrel, so I have a tendency to revert to those. And that alizarin crimson is working just fine for this.
That looks like mine. I can never throw a brush away. I
Oh
think
my-
that's in reference to the fugly brush.
The fugly brush? Oh no, the older they get, the more uses they have.
All right.
I don't like to throw away brushes either. So I have a few that have, really questionable condition, as he likes to point out. And I have tons of brushes, but I still tend to go back to, my favorites. So,
How old is this?
that one?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't look like it's been used much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this one is a Dynasty Black Gold, a number 16 flat.
You've probably had that for
Oh, at least 8 or 10 years.
8 or 10 years? How long have you had that one?
About 3 or 4 months. Which should tell you something about how, the paces I put them through. Certain brushes get to work real hard. Others, He just likes to point out the fact that I'm hard on them. Am I still in the shot with this thing? I keep turning it, so I'm not for sure.
You are still in the shot, but you're at the bottom of the frame, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So I'm just floating in some color. You notice I'm not very persnickety when it comes to floating. I'm more worried about getting layers in and building up to where I want to be than trying to get it all done in one go. I just find you have better control this way. And then you can control how deep they get. You can adjust shadows. You can adjust all sorts of things as you go. So if it doesn't look right, then it probably isn't, then fix it. So I like to load things up. And I keep coming back. This is one thing I have to say about this flow medium. I keep coming back to that original puddle. I just pick up a little flow medium and go back to the original puddle and pick up some color in it. It seems to be working just fine. And it does move really nicely.
I think we got to do a giveaway.
Oh, Renee wants to do a giveaway. So we have 2 Stampendous stamp sets to give away and one of my favorite gel pens to go with each of those. So who is getting the first one?
Oh, give me a second. I need to know.
He's got to know which number to look at.
360.
360.
between 1 and 360.
Gotcha.
159. Who is number 159?
I think he enjoys the giveaways more than I do.
So the comment is well, I can't go to that person. I deleted that comment.
Oh, okay.
Regenerate. Regenerate.
So while he's trying to find a winner,
Well, that helps.
so you can see I'm not too persnickety about these shading and highlighting. I just deepen them as I see fit, as I feel they need to be. And I got one here that I need to fix. There we go. Apparently, I painted it till it looked like it was one petal and not two, and it's supposed to be two. So,
Hey, it's a name I can pronounce.
and who is it?
It is Kathy Barnett.
Kathy Barnett. You have won the first giveaway for today, and that is a set of Stampendous stamps and one of my gel pens. So make sure you reach us on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, or you can message me from the website. If you go to the tracymoreau.net website, there's a messenger on the front page, little thought bubble down in the lower right corner. If you hit that button, you can send me a message with your shipping information, and we will get your goodies out to you right away.
Yeah.
And given the current situation with the postal services, you should have them before Christmas.
Hey. Oh, she was still watching too. Right on.
So I've probably got 3 or 4 layers of floating on here, and I think that's enough. I'm not going to putz with it too much. So now the color that I chose to highlight with, again, I know it wasn't the color that is used in the pattern. This is electric pink. This is a very bright pink, but it's ideal for highlighting this particular piece. And I'm going to use this as my highlight.
Oh.
I'm really liking this flow medium.
We have another Tracy. Oh my god.
Another Tracy.
Is it like Highlander?
It can only be one.
There can only be one. Tracy Bond.
Tracy Bond. What does Tracy Bond want?
I am new to painting, and floating gives me such grief. Any suggestions?
Yes. Floating, there's a reason why most of us painters call it the F word, because we use the F word so frequently when we're trying to do it. Tracy, I use, this is what I use. You probably have one under your kitchen sink. This is just a cellulose kitchen sponge. And you get it wet, but squeeze the moisture out of it, as much water as you can get out of it, but make sure the sponge is very moist. When you load your brush, the big trick to floating is making sure that you have that right balance of water in the brush. So I take it out of the water and I touch my brush both sides to the sponge, and then I pick up my paint. That wet sponge will only pull off a certain amount of moisture.
Do you pay your sidekick, or does he do this for fun? I do this for fun.
There. So I've picked up a little bit of paint, but that sponge will pull off the excess moisture, but it leaves enough in, because it will only draw off so much because the sponge is wet. It only has so much absorption. So when I do that, it lets me float color quite nicely. So there's enough moisture in it to float, but not so much that it runs all over the place.
Is your code still good for the brush, guys? It's not accepting it.
TM. It's Tracy, capital T, Tracy, capital M.
It has to be capital.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is case sensitive, so you have to type it the right way.
Yeah. Here's hoping that's the issue.
Oh, I think Stuart would tell me if it wasn't.
I'm late. I got my times wrong.
Yeah.
No, it
So
happens.
I am highlighting this rose with a float of that electric pink. And I'm taking it out to the edge. Now, here's a little trick with these roses. I take it out to the edge, but I stop short just a little bit. So there's a tiny, like a thread's width of the base color showing through. So it's not going all the way to the edge. I'm going to come just shy of the edge. Now, what this does is it helps produce that curve in the petal. I've used this sponge technique for floating for many, many years for teaching beginners, and I have found that it helps them get that control of the amount of water in the brush.
You're using old cloth diapers the same way.
Yep. Yep.
I'm going to have to try the sponge now.
Yep.
Yeah, old cloth diapers would work.
Yep.
Love the sponge idea. It seems much more predictable than paper towels.
Paper towels tend to draw too much moisture off because they're dry.
Yeah.
So I like to use something that is not dry. You need something that is moist or damp so that it doesn't pull too much moisture off of the brush. Moist.
Love your tips and tricks for floating. They really do work.
So that method,
Just use the coupon code. There's no E in Tracy.
yep,
No.
there's no E in Tracy.
And the freight saves a lot. And saves a lot on paper towels. Yeah.
Yeah, this little sponge trick has worked well for me over the years. And it at the same time, you get used to how much moisture you need. Most of us can feel it by the time we go to pick up the paint. We know when we're blending for that float, nope, not enough water. Yes, there's enough water.
Been painting for 20 years. Well, I never knew about using this sponge, and I have been painting for 20 years. Great idea.
It just, plain and simple, it just works.
It just works.
Yep. So that little highlight of that electric pink on these petals gives you that pop, makes these roses a nice bright pink.
That is such a great tip. I always have trouble with my floats.
Well,
And it's not even a fugly sponge.
no, it's not a fugly sponge, although it's getting there. This one's seen a little bit of use, but I just rinse it out at the end of the day and it's good to go.
Fugly sponge.
A fugly sponge.
You got fugly brush and fugly sponge.
That should be on a t-shirt.
What, fugly brush?
I heart my fugly brush.
I heart my fugly brush.
So I'm just popping a little more of that electric pink in. I can let this dry and then come back to it and put another layer on.
Absolutely beautiful rose. You make it look easy.
This is not a super realistic rose.
I'm going to have to sit down one day and paint a pattern with you. And see the differences. Mine will have skulls all over it.
So will mine.
No, fair enough.
I was working on a new skull design the other day.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. I'm overdue. I haven't done a skull in a while. And I do love my skulls.
I love airbrushing skulls because once you get the general outline of one done and a good base,
Yeah, it's just the details from
it's
there.
just small details after that, and it doesn't take much to make it look like a skull.
No. Skulls are fun.
Yes, Renee, do it. I haven't. Oh man, I think it'd be about 4 years. 4 years since I picked up a dagger striper. I haven't picked up a brush since.
So there I go. I've got my highlights in. There's a couple of them.
Excited for a new skull pattern. Holy crap!
I'm excited for a new skull pattern. I haven't done one in a
Susan
while.
Haley says, "Yay! Yes, a new skull." I love them.
I wanted to do one for Valentine's Day.
Aw. Karen Jones, miss painting in your sandbox?
I miss having you in my sandbox.
I kick the sandcastles they make.
So there I go. I've got my rose done. So I've got all my highlights in place. Now I'm going to let that dry, and we're going to do some work on these leaves. Now the leaves are going to be super simple. So we're going to start with a nice shadow down the center vein. I'm going to put that flow medium there so you can see what I'm working with. I've got a little puddle of flow medium. I'm going to brush that out.
Hit the like button.
Yes, please do.
Like the button. I'd like to see my mom's live go #1 on trending on Home and Style. It'd be awesome.
So I'm going to put a shadow down the center vein of each of these leaves, like so. And I'm just doing that with a little bit of plantation pine. Now, ordinarily, I would be using sap green in the fluid acrylic, but I'm using plantation pine for this. I kind of wanted to use like a black green, but I don't think I have any.
I have the poppies painting of yours, and everyone always why you had that saying on the back of it.
Which one?
Linda Sofrango, she says, I have the poppies painting of yours.
Okay.
And everyone always why you had the saying on the back of them.
Oh, thank you for playing in my sandbox?
Yeah.
Is that the one? That actually goes back a long, long way. I had written a painting book a number of years ago, and there's a short story at the back of it about being a child and
The sandbox.
playing in the sandbox. And for all intents and purposes, playing in the sandbox, I mean, you did everything in life in there. You know, you all your dreams were there. You played in the sandbox. You made mud pies. You raised families. You did all sorts of cool things in the sandbox when you were a kid. But once we grew up and we left all of that behind, all of that creativity seemed to sit back there with it. And so I like to have my own sandbox. And I like playing in my sandbox. And this is where I do all my creating. And this is where all of my fun stuff is and whatnot. And I like to have people join me in that sandbox. So that is why I had that saying. Thanks for playing in my sandbox. Came to join me in the fun. We're grown-ups, but doesn't mean we grew up.
I think I have every brush. I never...
Every brush.
I really have some fugly brushes.
You know what? I think sometimes that fugly brush has got some of the best stories. So I'm...
Hello from Oklahoma and Okie who can't convert time. What time is it now in your neck of the woods? It is...
Must be after 2?
It is a 2:15.
It's a 2:15, Atlantic Standard Time. I am not on Eastern Standard Time. I'm on Atlantic Standard Time. So there I have my shadows.
Oh, just received your pattern for the note box.
Oh, cool.
My husband ordered it for me through Painting World magazine. Looking forward to painting.
You know what? That's a fun little piece. And if you really want to see how the roses are painted, because they're really, really simple, just watch the This Little Piggy video from last week. Show you how to do those cabbage roses.
There you go.
Yeah. We painted that little charcuterie board last week with the pig, or not last week, but the week before with the pig. And we did those little cabbage roses. So the little cabbage roses that are on that little note box.
Are we on battery here? That one's good.
I think we're fine.
That one's pushing its luck. Like me half the time.
Well, like you all the time.
Yeah, I like pushing my luck.
So there, I've got my shadows in place on those roses. I'm liking it.
Okay, give me a second. I gotta adjust this one. And that's my finger.
He's
fixing things.
Okay, so I've got my leaves done. They're ready for highlighting. Now, highlighting, I'm using olive green. Let me see if I have some margarita. I'd like a margarita. Nope. There we go, margarita.
Finally figured out the chat. I've been watching you on my smart TV. Love you on YouTube.
Oh, awesome.
Right on.
So the color I'm using for highlighting these leaves is margarita. I was going to use olive green, but the margarita is a little bit brighter and it's a little more transparent. So
everyone hit the like button. Hit the like button.
So I'm going to float a nice little highlight onto these leaves.
It is 1:17 Eastern time.
I'm going to pick up a little bit of that flow medium. I'm really liking this flow medium.
Did you find something new?
So I'm going to...
Is that Joe Sonia's flow medium?
Yeah, it is. It's great stuff.
Yeah, look at the product placement in that camera.
You're welcome. So I'm putting a highlight on using that margarita. I don't really worry too much about going over the shading a little bit because I'm going to come back in and deepen that anyway. So I am not too worried about it, to be blunt. And then I'm going to pull a little of that down there. Now I like to take it up the opposite side as well, just a little bit, because I like that highlight to sort of carry along. So there's one leaf.
I prefer you on YouTube, much easier to watch, better quality. The fact that I can watch you on my TV better than my phone. Yeah. It's Joe Sonia's, it's in the camera. It's right there.
Yep.
That one.
The Joe Sonia flow medium. I've been floating with it. It's great.
Ah.
I dropped it in the paint.
I dropped it in the paint. Look at that. There.
So
Flow medium.
it's good stuff. I'm liking how it's working. It does take a little bit longer to dry. I have noticed that, but honestly, not that much of a difference to...
Robin Storm. Okay, Tracy, I'm new, so I'm glad you explained the sandbox because the first thing I thought about was I bet your dog loves to play in the sandbox. What's up? You had me cracking up.
Oh. So I'm putting a highlight of that.
Actually, she's only been to a pebble beach, never a sand beach.
Oh.
So, damn, I don't know how she'd react to sand.
She's a smart puppy.
She's a woodland dog anyway. She likes the woods.
So I'm just going to put a quick little highlight on these smaller leaves, same way I did the first ones. Like that.
Like watching her on YouTube. better than Facebook. Facebook had too many glitches.
We've been relatively glitch-free this time around.
Yeah, so far. I think the only thing we're going to have an issue with is if any of these batteries die. If this battery dies, then the screen goes down. If that one dies, just the camera goes down.
That one we can plug in.
That one we can plug in. This one, we lose her microphone.
My mic goes out.
Her mic goes out if we lose battery on this one. So that's our only concern.
So I have my highlight in place on those leaves. So now I'm going to go back in with that plantation pine. And this is where I get to crisp up those shadows. And it also smooths out some of those highlights too while we're at it.
Have you used Delta Float or gel blending medium?
I have used both. I'm not a particular fan. I've never used float mediums.
No.
I've used them, but I don't care for them. I don't see the need myself. I've always found that if I use that sponge technique, I didn't really need a float medium. So,
how much flow medium do you use on your brush?
Well, this is it. I've got maybe 2 drops of medium right here on the palette, and I just touch the brush to it. That's it. Just let the brush soak up a little bit, and I brush it out, pick up my paint,
and away she goes.
And away I go. You really do not need a lot, and I love how smoothly the paint comes off the brush with this, with that flow medium.
Much better on YouTube than Facebook, as far as glitches go.
Yep. So there, our leaves are done.
For the first time, I haven't lost the feed.
That's a good thing. So now we have to start working on this teacup. So I have my polka dot, my 1/8 polka dot stencil here.
I am waiting patiently for the asphaltum float.
It will come, I promise you. I use that towards the end.
Yeah.
So I've got my teacup in place. I'm going to actually do something a little different here. I'm going to line up my stencil and I'm going to tape it in place.
No connection issues.
And I'm using a small stencil brush for this one and some warm white.
I'm guessing that was auto-corrected. Golden fast drying glaze?
Yeah, golden. That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
I used it on my daffodil lettering. It worked very well.
Yeah. Most fast drying glazes are the same product, or the same type of product, so there's no reason why they wouldn't work. And golden makes an excellent product line.
No, okay.
So, no disputes there. So, I'm going to show you a quick trick.
A lot of people agreeing that you're much better on YouTube.
So, I'm going to show you a quick trick. I'm going to cover up a couple of areas on this stencil, just real quick.
We don't want the polka dots in the background.
Because I don't want the polka dots, white polka dots on my background. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. I do like the...
Could have just cut out your...
I could have cut the image out, which I've done on numerous occasions, but...
There's our first glitch. Let's see if it shows up.
I'm going to... I just want to get them as close to as I can get.
Yep, it showed up. First glitch.
It wasn't major, though, I take
No,
it?
it was like maybe a tenth of a second.
Okay. So I've got my teacup taped off a little bit on the stencil. Just this way, I don't have to worry about going off onto things. So I'm going to use just a little bit of warm white, and I'm only going to do this in one pass.
How do you prevent the second layer of float from removing the first layer?
Don't touch it till it's completely dry.
Dry it.
Yeah, dry it. That's all I can say.
Let it dry.
So let it dry. I use a heat gun to dry mine. I have never been a huge proponent of using heat to dry paint, primarily because, especially with acrylic paints, it tends to cook the top layer and then you end up with wet paint underneath. But in this particular case, we're not working with heavier applications, so it's not too bad. So there we go.
I've know about Golden, as my husband uses that brand for painting his wood carvings.
Golden makes a very good quality acrylic. Very good
Maybe
quality
I can go
acrylic.
steal some of his mediums. Maybe.
Yep.
Entirely
So
possible.
I just used a little bit of warm white, and I used that 1/8 polka dot. And now I'm going to pick up my stencil and peel it off. Ta-da! So now I have a teacup covered in tiny little polka dots. And now I'm going to give it a dry real quick. Comes on.
And cleanup time. That's pretty much what you're doing now, right?
Yep. So remember the tag? I cut it out of the paper. Ta-da! We're going to do something fun with this. You're going to love it.
Where's your plate? Or did you take it up already?
So we're going to actually use the real paper to do the tag. And I have a little bit of matte medium here someplace, so I'm going to use that. But we have to get our paper ready first, and that means we're going to age the edges of this a little bit. Let me move this out of the way. So there's our paper tag. Oh my goodness. Stay there. So I've got a little bit of water and a little bit of asphaltum. I'm not using a ton of asphaltum. And I'm just going to float the edges of my paper like so. Keeping the darkest value to the outside edge. I don't want this dark everywhere, but I'm just floating it all the way around like so. And I like to pay particular attention to the corners. So if I can get them a little bit darker, I just like that. If for no other reason than I like the way it looks. Like so. And then I'm going to take a little of that asphaltum really thinned, and then I'm going to put a wash over the whole tag. So what it does is it leaves the outside edge quite dark, and then towards the center it's a little bit lighter. Now I'm going to get my matte medium. Now, because the paper is already wet, because I got it very wet when I was antiquing it, I don't really need to get the paper wet. So I'm going to take that matte medium and I'm going to put a coat of matte medium on that tag, like so. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you go over the teacup, that's okay too. I'm just going to brush a coat on like so. Come on, it's drying quickly. And then I'm going to line up my tag so that it fits that space. And then I'm going to press it into place. And then once it's in place, I'm going to put a coat of the matte medium right over top of it. I want everything covered, like so. Just like that. And then I'm going to let that dry. So while that is drying, just to show you, this is what I used to put that on with. This is the Media matte medium. I love this stuff. It's great stuff. So now I'm going to put a float of asphaltum on my tag and on my cup. I need a bigger angle for this one. There we go. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that flow medium, and I'm using a 1/2 inch angle for this because I want nice wide floats. We're going to shade in behind this teacup right in here, and I'm going to walk it out a little bit, just a little, so that shades our cup. And do the same thing at the top here and in and around that flower. This is just going to bring that teacup forward a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing in here. This also cleans up, little spaces or little areas that, perhaps didn't get as close to the line as they should have been. This closes and cleans up quite a few little flaws. And this is also where you get to clean up and sharpen some edges around that flower by putting that dark shadow in. It just creates a little bit of contrast between the flower and the background. So you get a nice sharp definition.
Oh, where are we? What did I miss? How many sizes of polka dots do you have?
4. There's a 1/8, a 1/4, a 3/8. No, that's right. Just the 3. It's 3. Oh no, we have the 4. We have the crowded polka dot. We have a crowded polka dot. The crowded polka dot is a 1/4 inch polka dot, but they're very close together, so it gives you a different appearance.
I miss a play bit here.
So if you had a question and we didn't get to you, it's because he left the room for a minute. So there's our shadow.
Dad took Dot for a walk.
I'm going to dry this. Now I want this teacup, that white, to appear bright.
Oh, there we go. Now I'm caught up, I think.
I want this white on the teacup to appear bright, but I don't want it to...
I missed what type of stencil brush you were using.
My favorite stencil brush, it's a Dynasty Stencil Pro.
Not your signature?
Not my signature, because this is on a super smooth surface. So I use my signature stencil brush for things like canvas and anything that's got a texture to it.
Do you use a mop sometimes while floating?
You know what? I have never been a mop brush painter. I don't use them for floating. I don't use mop brushes for anything except decorating the paint in my brush container. Most of my mop brushes ended up in my makeup bag. It has never been a brush that I use. It's just not. Not that it's not a great brush to use, but I've never used one for anything.
I don't have a laser printer. How can I paint this tag directly on painting?
Oh, that's easy. You can print this out on an inkjet, and then take a little bit of your matte spray and stand about a foot away from it and just give it a light mist, let it dry, and then do it again. And then do it again on the other side of the paper. So 2 or 3 light coats on each side of the paper with that Decor matte spray. And if you do it at a distance, the ink won't run.
What was that? Can you use Mod Podge instead?
Yeah, you can use Mod Podge. I just recommend using one that has a matte finish.
Yeah. And can you show a picture of the matte medium bottle?
Yes, absolutely. This is Decoart's matte medium. I'll set it right there.
Nice.
If you're looking for any of the media products. I know that Maureen Baker still has some in stock. I don't know how much she's got in stock or what she has, but I know she does have some of the media in stock. So I am floating on the white at the bottom, like where I would shade it, with Bahama Blue. And then I'm walking that color about 1/3 of the way up.
Where did camera guy go?
He went to the little boy's room.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to take that Bahama Blue and I'm going to float underneath the flowers right here.
Love the fact that I have the ability to back up the video on YouTube. Yeah. Don't get that with Facebook Live.
No.
You have to wait till the whole thing's done and then you can backtrack. This one you can backtrack immediately.
So, and now I'm going to float underneath those flowers and I'm going to come down about 1/3 of the way.
I wondered how your print did not run. Great tip.
And then I'm going to do the same thing to those white bits on the handle. I'm going to float that on the sides here. And here.
Love that I can do a quick wanted to see the containers of the matte medium.
And then I'm going to float along the bottom of the handle on the white with the Bahama Blue as well. And then I'm going to come down to that teacup, to the saucer at the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to float a little bit at the ends with the Bahama Blue and up against the tag, like that. And this brush is so old.
89. Okay.
So I have the Bahama Blue in place on my teacup. I've done the highlight, the shading, on the handle with that Bahama Blue. Did the same thing on both sides. And now we're going to start finishing this up. And this is actually quite easy. So we're going to start right after I dry this. This is all the fun stuff next. I love doing all of this. This is my favorite part. So I'm going to take my angled shader and some asphaltum, and I'm going to thin that color out. You need it to be fairly weak. I don't want it so strong that it turns everything brown. So I'm going to blend it out. And start by shading underneath the flowers and right over that blue and right over the black. So what happens when you put yellow over blue? You get green. And the asphaltum has a yellow cast to it, so it gives this sort of soft green tone to the shading.
Okay. When you were first designing this piece, did you have any idea how beautiful the background would look with the entire piece?
I tend to gravitate towards this background for a lot of things, but you'll notice I didn't put a ton of color in this teacup. It's all very high contrast. So I'm using black and I'm using white, which contrasts well with that background. So because of that, this piece jumps forward. And then this bright pink that I have in here works with this magenta, works with the blue. So these are complementary colors, so they all work together as well. So I always have an idea ahead of time what things are going to look like when they're finished. I tend to think out my designs rather carefully. So when I'm putting them together, I already have an idea of what the end result will look like.
We actually got a Facebook message with a question.
Okay.
What is your lucky brush?
My lucky brush?
Your lucky brush.
Oh, my number 2 rigger.
Your number 2 rigger?
Yep. I think that's one of my favorite brushes ever. I love my rigger because I can do lettering. I can do so many things with it. So I'm going to do the same thing to the saucer. I'm going to put that shadow. Wherever that blue is, you're going to float over it with that thin dish Faltum. I love, love, love how this looks. So I can take that float underneath the tag and right up onto the saucer. Now I'm going to shade around this saucer or the tag. I want it to lift up off the surface. So I'm not going right to the point. I'm going to come about 1/4 of an inch away, and I'm going to float onto that white background and down the side. And I'm going to stop about 1/4 of an inch past. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to pull that float like that. So it's forming a backwards L around this tag. And that will be our shadow for the tag. And I have to come over here and I have to float over top of that Bahama blue on the handle and put a shadow in like so.
Ah. When you're designing, do you come up with the drawing first or a color palette first?
I come up with my drawing first. And my process is a little bit involved when it comes to that. A lot of designers will take a basic shape and they will put the basic shape on the surface and then they will start developing the design while it's on the surface. So they add things and they take things away and whatnot. I'm one of those designers that I map out my entire design before it ever goes to surface. I know which stencils I'm going to use. I know which color palette. By the time I have my line drawing done, I know what my color palette is going to be. But my line drawing is completely mapped out. So I know exactly what the composition of my piece is going to be. And I base my line drawing precisely on the surface that I use. So I select my surface and then I develop my line drawing to suit it.
DecoArt is out of asphaltum. I emailed Moraine yesterday to ask her to nudge the factory.
To nudge the factory. All the nudging in the world isn't going to speed it up, believe me. Sandy and I both do a tremendous amount of work for DecoArt, and even we can't get paint. So, and we have to make do. I mean, the priority goes to the retailers that are waiting on their products. So, and that is completely understandable. So if, be patient, it is getting to stores. I know our local Michael's store actually had paint on the shelves.
For a short period of time.
For a very short period of time. The lovely young lady that stocked the shelf in there, she said it was so funny because it was like a school of piranhas had run into the store. She said, I went in on one day and stocked the shelf and I came back the next day, it was empty. So poor girl is waiting for more paint. So I think I'm just about at the point. We're going to start adding some fun stuff. We need to put a highlight on this teacup. And for that, I'm going to use my big point blender.
I've had a rigger brush for years and could never get a good result until I watched you use it last week. Great lettering now. Thanks.
You are very welcome. There's nothing.
Nancy.
It's so frustrating to do lettering and have the brush not work for you.
Wait till you see this lettering.
This is fun. This is fun lettering. So I've loaded up my point blender. This is a medium point blender with some warm white to the point where it's almost dry. And the highlight on this teacup is so simple. I'm just going down the center of that black area, like so, with that dry brush. And I'm going to come in, and then it's going to get a little smaller in here, like this. So I'm staying about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of that where the black and the white meet, and I'm just putting in a soft dry brush.
I knew it.
And what is
Saw
it?
this coming a mile away the second we started talking about paint and availability.
What's
a good substitute for asphaltum?
Burnt umber. It's the closest that you'll be able to come. It won't give you exactly the same effect, but close enough. Just use it sparingly. That's all I have to say on that. So there is my dry brush on my teacup. Again, you can see it's not a high-tech blend. And I'm going to do the same thing to the saucer. Oops. I whoopsied. I'm going to use a little bit of the other point blender and a little bit of water to remove that. I'm going to dry that real quick and then I'll try again. I whoopsied. So now I think the brush is dry. Yeah. So it's just a light dry brush on the cup, like so. Now I'm going to use my 1/2-inch angle and I'm going to put a dry brush on the inside of that handle right there, all the way down. Just, you can see it sort of softens things a little bit. And then I'm going to use my asphaltum and I'm going to shade.
What variety of deco art paint is your asphaltum?
Asphaltum looks like brown. It's actually a weird yellow.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's when you take it out, it has a very like a deep golden cast to it. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's a transparent yellow brown. It's my favorite brown. I love it. Love how it works.
I think they're wondering if it's like Americana or what's their other line?
Traditions
Traditions.
or Crafters acrylic. Yeah. I think it's only available in the Americana line. I don't think it's available in anything else.
That one.
That's the one.
Asphaltum.
So I have my shading in place. So now, before I tackle the finishing touches on the rose, I'm going to finish off this cup. And this is fun because this is where that gel pen comes in. I like to make a scribbly line. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. On all these white areas, just inside the edge. It's a sketchy line. Nothing neat, nothing tidy.
Have you tried folk art asphaltum?
Yes.
That was very...
Yes, I have used it. I don't find that I get the same effect with it. That's my personal opinion. It is, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it in one of their pure pigment lines?
Where's that IPC brush? People are asking what brand.
The IPC brush is a Dynasty brush.
Oh, it is Dynasty.
Yeah. I don't use anything but Dynasty. So again, I'm just using that gel pen to put a sketchy line around all of these little bits and pieces, the bits and bobs. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. This pen is almost empty. In fact, I think it is empty.
Talk about the pen. Because you know that question was coming.
Yeah. Now, this gel pen I use for everything. Absolutely everything. I love it for little details like this. It's a Japanese ink in this one. So it's very, very black. It's very, very dark. And it's the first pen I have ever found that will work over acrylic paint without constantly, clogging up or not working. This one has been very reliable. This one is a Uniball 0.38 Signo. And this one is an awesome pen. Again, it's a Japanese ink. So it's a good quality ink. The other thing, recently had a lovely lady message me that she had used the pen and then when she brushed on varnish, it ran. I've never had that problem, primarily because almost everything that I do gets matte sprayed. So she had used a gloss varnish over top of it, and it did run. It does have to dry for quite a while. I've varnished over top of mine within minutes and never had a problem. And then I've had it run on me, if I sprayed it too soon or too late or what have you. Generally, for the most part, I spray everything with matte spray anyway before I varnish. It's just a habit that I developed over the years. It's like setting things just to make sure. So that's my recommendation, that if you intend to put a brush varnish over top of this ink, put a couple of light coats of matte spray over top of it, just for safety's sake, so that you're not having to, sand off varnish and fix things. It would just hurt my heart if somebody's hard work got ruined because the ink ran. So.
Okay, I'm going to apologize now, but you can take your microphone off because...
Oh, we're going to switch?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. And because hopefully you can hear me nice and clear.
There we go.
I should be nice and clear. I'm not that far away. Yeah.
Picks it up.
Good. It's not as clear, so. It's picking up you way over there, so.
Well, they're gonna hear me a little bit better now. But.
So I've got all of that inking in place. And now it's time to start doing all the finishing touches on our rose. And this we're going to do, I'm going to move my sponge because I'm done floating for the time being. I have 2 liner brushes that I use on a regular basis. One of them is a 10-aught and the other is a 15-aught extra long detail liner. Those are my faves.
Dynasty Micron.
So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white and some of that margarita, and I'm going to mix the two. This is just going to make this green a little bit more opaque. If you're using the olive green instead of the margarita, then you can just thin out some olive green for this. So this is where I'm going to put in some of my details in this, the stems and the little whirligigs and whatnot. But one of the things that I like to do to my leaves is this. I like a little squiggly line around my leaves. Just, I just think it looks softer. And it makes the leaves look pretty. We're going to do the same thing to the roses with a pink. So there we go. Put a little curly Q at the end of those leaves. Oops. There we go. Pardon me. Nice thing. That's another thing. That little bit of flow medium in there. Whew, Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. Does that ever work well? So now I've got those pretty little squigglies. But I want a nice little curly Q on that. I very rarely do these in one fell swoop because they never work. But
I was just checking the audio on the screen.
And then good. I want to put one out here. There we are. So I've got my curly Q's and I've got that squiggly line on there. So now I'm going to put one on my roses. And to do that, I'm going to thin out a little bit of that electric pink. Get a little of that flow medium in there. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white as well. I just want this a little more opaque. I put a little bit of that flow medium in there. And we're going to go to the edges of our petals. And we're going to add just a I like a squiggly line on the edges of my petals.
It does pop them out.
It does a couple of things. It softens the edges of the flowers, makes some of those little rough edges disappear.
What is the spray you use before you varnish the piece?
I use Duckwort's matte spray. It's my favorite.
Is that the one that we have to cover up the smell, or?
No, that one, Duckwort's matte spray still has a smell, but it's not as bad as the one I have out in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That
yeah,
one's potent.
I just use 2 or 3 light coats, not a heavy sprayed coat. So I'm just loosely adding. I'm not worrying about whether it's right on the edge. I'm just sort of following the general shape.
What is that, 10-aught?
This is the 10-aught.
Yeah.
And this is a Dynasty brush as well. These microns are fabulous brushes.
10-aught. Dynasty Micron?
10-aught Dynasty micron. Extra long detail liner.
Do you have
So-
a substitute for electric pink?
Electric pink, neon,
Use neon.
sizzling pink.
Sizzling.
I think it's sizzling pink. Can you check the cabinet there?
The Volt.
In the vault. He's going to the vault. The other one, in the middle.
Isn't that pinks?
No, no.
Oh, that's purples.
Yeah.
This one?
Yep, it should be up top,
Got baby pink.
top shelf. It's going to be with the metallics and the,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's in the neons. You'll see them. Deckwart makes a neon. And
Oh,
it-
neons.
It is a really hot pink. And I love that one too. I love the color. So
Peach punch. Pink explosion. Peach punch.
here is, so that little
Sizzling pink.
irregular sizzling pink. There you go.
Pink explosion.
Oh, that's in the neon lights. You could use that too. But yeah, that sizzling pink is like mega on this. Ooh, have to show you. Can't just show you the bottle. Gotta show you what it looks like. This stuff is amazing. Look at this. Is that sexy or what?
I wouldn't use that term, but
Woo! That's hot, baby. I'm gonna put that over there.
that is a bright pink. That is her.
I want you to see what this looks like because this stuff is a great highlighting medium. These neons, these are fun, fun, fun. So I'm going to pop a little of that neon pink on here. Look at this. Hello. Now I'm using it fairly light. I'm not doing a ton, but man alive. Pretty, pretty. Look at how those roses, that pops.
Have you
Pops,
ever
pops,
paint-
pops.
Have you ever painted your designs on artist canvas?
Yes. I have a lot of them all over the house.
I see a 16 by 30. I see a 6 by 6, a 3 by, a 4 by 12, a 10 by 20, a 12
Yes.
by 12.
I use a lot of canvas.
There's a lot of canvas here.
Yeah. So that, look at that little bit of electric, that sizzling pink in the neon. If you really want the colors to pop, look at this. It's pretty.
Well, there's a question I didn't expect to see.
What's that?
What does your puzzle tattoo represent?
Oh, my puzzle piece. This actually was designed by my daughter. She is an adult with, she's fairly well on the spectrum with autism. And she wanted to get a tattoo for her birthday. So we agreed that she could get a tattoo. And she designed it. She came up with the design. And it is the puzzle piece representing autism. And then the peace sign in the center representing understanding and tolerance. And so we all have the tattoo piece Renee has it. Both my husband and I have it. We all have it on our arm, except my son. His is on his neck. And I'm the only one that has the numbers underneath it. And as I put it to her, this is the day she changed my life, which was the 4th of July, 1989, which is the day she was born. So every member of our family has this tattoo. Tattoos should be personal, and that one definitely is. So, ooh, I'm liking this. Look at that punch, that pink. So, that's what those hot shots are. That neon pink will add a nice sizzle to that, let me tell you.
The tattoo's not really on my neck.
No, it's
Behind my ear.
behind his ear. So, I'm just going to finish out doing all of these little loose, I like this little, loose detail. It just sort of pops these petals out a little bit,
Crap. Slow down, Chad.
like so. And there we have our rose. I'm going to give this a couple minutes to dry, and then we're going to deepen all of the shading with a float of asphaltum. And then we'll be ready to go on to our lettering, which is going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to switch over to my 1/4 inch angle, I think, for this one. And I pick up a little asphaltum and a little bit of that flow medium. I think I need a fresh dollop of flow medium.
Wow, how rich that rose became.
And it's going to get a little bit richer.
Uh-oh.
So with that little bit of asphaltum, you're going to go in and you're going to deepen a few little shadows. And that little bit of asphaltum makes a big difference. It will give you a little more contrast without drastically changing the color of those shadows. So it doesn't take anything away from it, but it does define these shadows just a little bit better. I got a little too much on the brush there.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those shadows suddenly become a little bit more defined. So I just use a little bit, not going everywhere with it. I don't want it to get overbearing. But
No, it's not my mother's only tattoo, believe it or not.
no, it is not my only tattoo. I've designed all of mine except this one. And I designed all of my husband's except this one.
Design that one.
And I designed a couple of his as well.
Yeah.
I have an 8-inch dragonfly on my right calf. And I have
Ignoring my last chat. What?
bumblebees on my right calf and my left calf. So there it is. Those are our shadows on our rose.
There's a reason why I'm ignoring that.
So there is our rose all finished. So now going to come down to our lettering, and this will actually go fairly quickly because the lettering is pretty simple for this one. The base color for these letters is Bahama Blue.
What a telling tattoo. God bless her. Renee, let's see yours.
Let's stick your arm under here so she
That's my hand for my dog.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all zoomed in here.
You're all zoomed in. Nobody can see it. Yeah, he's inked up.
Yeah.
So,
That one.
Dot. This is puppy's when she was a puppy. Little one down here to what she is now. And the one on your forearm. This is the one I did for him. The Celtic cross with the French fleur de lis.
And my other arm's covered too.
And he's covered in snakes and other stuff.
Snakes, maple leaves, a leopard, some tribal.
So the base color for these leaves. Oh my gosh, letters. Hello.
Can you bring it up a bit so I can zoom in on it? Focus.
So I'm using a nice big, well, not a big round. I'm using a number 5 round for this. And the color I'm using is Bahama Blue. Now I switched to a round because these letters are almost a 1/2 inch thick. So I'm going to, as I tell you with the rigger, to press down on the brush till it opens up. And then you follow it so that outside edge comes
Tracy,
right to the
tell
edge of the
man
line.
Step in front of the damn camera. I added the damn, it was more visceral.
Okay.
No.
So you can see how easy it is to fill that space. Press down. I start in the center until that outside edge of the brush touches the line.
Yeah, surprisingly, none of us have skull tattoos.
My next one is,
Oh, Mom's next tattoo is a skull tattoo.
I just haven't decided where it's going.
And I can't design one that I like to put on my skin permanently.
So I'm using that round to fill in that space, but I use the same process that I do for other lettering. And you simply press down towards the center of that, let the brush open up until it touches the line, and then pull it the length of the letter. When it's full of paint, it'll stay on that line. And do the same thing for the outside edge.
So the same concept that you use.
Very
with the
same
rigger?
concept as the rigger, but you're just using a round brush. I push down to open up the brush to fill that space and keep that splay so that it's on the outside. If you start the brush in the center of the letter, it'll work for you every time. And that is when I switch to my rigger to do all of these other areas. So I have, this one is a number 2. Now all these little bits, like the top of it, again, you press down on the brush till it fills the space and pull it the length of the piece. Press down, fill the space.
How do you erase the black lines of the lettering?
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
No, they're okay. You're getting ahead of us. Or her. I'm not doing anything. I'm just reading. I'm making sure that the stream just happens.
So again, I press down till that brush fills that space, and then I pull it along until I get to the end of it. I've got a little bit of flow medium there.
Wow, that neon pink that you used there, the sizzling pink,
Yeah.
really made that rose jump. Are you having a live next Saturday?
Yes. We are going live next Saturday.
It'll most likely be on Facebook because we're going to talk about how this one went.
Yeah.
And
We'd love your input.
we've gotten a lot of their input already. Share the crap out of it.
Yes.
Share it. Let people know. Like it. There's been consistently 150 or so of you in here.
Nice.
And only 83 likes. That means there's
Somebody's not doing their bit.
somebody's not doing their job. There should be, if there's 150 people in here, there should be 150 likes. Just saying. If you don't like it, well, then to each his own.
Yep. So that is as difficult as it is to paint that lettering. This is a bit more forgiving for lettering than what I normally do.
Yeah,
I usually use a lot of script where there's a lot of changes in size, and it's fairly tight and
that
fairly
wet paint
detailed.
really shows up.
Uh,
You can tell what's dry and what's not.
Yeah. So I'm just going to dry this. It's got a couple of steps to go here for this lettering, and then we're almost finished. So
A couple glitches here and there, but I think it's just the wind blowing.
it's just the wind blowing.
Beautiful design. Thank you, Tracy, for an awesome video and design. Always a fun time.
So we're going to shade the bottom of this lettering. I'm going to use peacock teal for the shading on this lettering.
Even if you won't stand in front of the camera, you're still enjoying the hoot.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
glad.
he's a blessing.
Said sarcastically.
So the bottom of each of these, even he finds that funny. So, so the bottom of these letters gets floated with that peacock teal, and you just sort of walk it up a little
What
bit.
liner brush was that you were using?
The liner is a Dynasty 10-aught extra long detail liner. You can get these from the brush guys. And don't forget to use that coupon code Tracy M
That one.
and save you a little bit on your brush purchase if you're ordering brushes.
I'm still laughing at the fact that somebody called me a blessing. It's a blessing. Yeah.
So
Love that you're doing this on YouTube, because I will watch again and again and again. Oh, okay.
So all you do is take that peacock teal to the bottom of each letter, and you're going to walk it up about a third of the way. That's all you need to
The
do.
likes just jumped.
Because you're a blessing?
Oh yeah, I'm a blessing. Found it. Love this piece. Thank you, Tracy and Renee. I did nothing. That's all her. I just make sure this runs. I really look forward to more of your lessons. There'll be more.
There will be more.
This is our longest one yet.
I would say though, if there's something that you would like in particular, oh my gosh, if there's something in particular that you would like me to teach, don't be shy. Go to the website, send me a message through the messenger that's on the front page. You can't miss it. There's a little speech bubble down in the lower right-hand corner on the opening page of the website. You can click on that and then send us a message. It comes direct to me. And I am more than open to hear what you guys want to see, what you'd like to learn.
No space. It's Tracy M. No space between Tracy and the M.
Yeah. All one word. So there we have it. We have that nice little shadow on the bottom of each letter.
It's all one word.
And now we're going to put a highlight at the top of each letter.
Poor Linda.
Linda Sofranco.
Yep. Linda Sofranco.
So I'm going to float with some warm whites on the top of each letter. And it's just a weak float, nothing neat, nothing tidy. And I'm going to come down about 1/3.
Wish Renee had a mic.
Oh, you don't.
No, no, you don't. See, she knows. She knows.
So you will notice that these floats are not perfect. They are not neat and tidy. They are not, they're not pristine. I'm not looking for pristine. I just sort of want them loose and I'm coming down about 1/3 of the length of the letter. So if the float from the bottom went up 1/3, you're going to go down 1/3 from the top. So there is our float. Nothing
It's
neat.
like she knows.
Whom, Linda?
No, Jessica. Killeran?
Okay.
It's like she knows.
What did she know? Oh, cool.
Because she asked, is there a second winner today?
Yeah, there is, Jessica. Guess who it is?
I'm going to wait till she replies. I picked this like maybe 20 minutes ago,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't want to say anything.
Okay.
But, yeah. Could... Just waiting.
Did she reply? No, not yet?
She
Okay.
asked if there was a second winner today.
We do have a second winner,
Yeah.
but you have to guess who it is. Told you he was evil.
Deb Petals, thanks for going on YouTube. Haven't lost you once today. Facebook was getting to be a pain.
Yeah.
Many thanks. Great instruction today. Love this. Love this piece. Renee, you're the best. Mama loves you. I know my mama loves me. And I love my mama. Are you picking on me, girl?
Was that Linda?
Yeah, Linda's a friend. Go.
I
I've
would
been
never
between
pick
your
on you,
site
Linda.
And buying and brush guide. I'm always around. Jessica, what, for real? Have you figured it out?
Yes, for real, Jessica. You're the winner of the second set. And we do have one more thing to give away today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
we do.
We do.
We do.
Did we talk about this?
Yes, you're the one that suggested it. You
I
numpty.
suggested. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to dry this. Got my highlights in place. Do it real quick.
I gotta pick it first.
I'm going to take my rigger and I'm going to paint the it's. We got to paint that tag. Almost forgot about it.
Yeah.
But it'll give the rest of this a chance to dry. And I know I have black paint somewhere, so. Oh, goodness. Got black paint everywhere now. So I'm going to take a little of that and I'm going to paint in the word it's on my tag. I'm just filling it in. Do the same thing here. And we're going to finish off with just a few of the little itty bitty details. One in particular that I almost forgot about because it's been that kind of a day. And thin out a little bit of warm white. We have to put a string on this tea tag. So I'm going to start right here at this rose, make a bit of an arch, and I'm going to come right down to the tip of that tag, like so. Now, someone had asked about getting rid of graphite lines. This is my go-to eraser. This is a Factus Black 18. You can get this eraser at Michael's, at Joann's, at Hobby Lobby, at any art and craft supply place. This thing is fantastic for two reasons. One, it'll take almost anything off. And number two, it will do it without polishing or leaving shiny spots on your painted surface. So it is excellent for black backgrounds or dark backgrounds. So I'm going to take my Factus Black, and that's what I remove my graphite lines with. And it lifts them off very nicely. And it doesn't hurt your paint. And you can see it took it off quite easily. I love my Factus Black erasers. These are from General Pencil. My pal Kathy Hansen introduced me to these a number of years ago, and I have never used anything else but since. I love these things. I find I don't have graphite smearing all over the place. I don't end up with shiny spots on my backgrounds. But all my graphite comes off. Look at that. So if you're using pencils, if you're using graphite, look how smoothly that comes off. And I don't have any excess sheen or any polished spots on my background, which is very important. There's nothing worse than doing a matte black background that's got shiny spots wherever your eraser was. And it also doesn't chew through your paint, which is even more important. So I'm going to get all that graphite off for our next step. Look at that. Easy peasy. Get yourself a Factus Black. I love these things. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Nice and clean.
Where'd you get the eraser?
These ones I got from Michael's. You can get them at the Michael's store. You'll find them with the drawing supplies.
Or Amazon.
Or Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. So out comes my favorite pen again. And this is where I just put a sketchy line around my letters. Nothing too neat and tidy. I mean, you can be as neat and tidy as you want.
Until there's a winner on the numbers.
So the last prize of the day is actually the one I'm working on right now. So whoever's name is drawn is going to get this finished piece. And
Oh, they're fighting for it.
We'll sign it for you and get it out to you in the mail.
So what I did was I made him pick a number between 1 and 125.
Okay. That was just mean. So there it is. That's all I'm going to do to finish that part off, is just to put that outline, and it's just a squiggly line, nothing, off the charts, just.
And there's already been a winner.
Ah.
She nailed it.
So, squiggly line around the lettering. The last and final step that you're going to do is done with my fugly brush. If I can find my good one. Did you move my fugly brush?
I did not.
I had my pretty one. Oh, there it is. Never mind. See, this is my pretty fugly brush.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I want it.
So I'm picking up a little bit of warm white. I'm just going to spatter this lightly with a little bit of warm white all over everything. Comme ça.
Haven't painted for 20 years. Adventurous about restarting. Not so fearful now with your laugh and Renee's chuckle. Thanks.
And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum and do the same thing. So I usually spatter with two colors, a little bit of white, a little bit of asphaltum. So I spatter this a little. I do like the various tones.
So.
Like so. A little asphaltum. And then I want a little more contrast.
I'm probably going to say this wrong.
I'm going to give this a little bit of lamp black too. Just for the contrast. And I figure my manicures.
They're happy you're using your fugly brush.
They've been waiting all afternoon for me to use the fugly brush.
All right, so I think it's Elsie.
Elsie?
Elsie Strum.
Strum.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're going to be sending that to her.
I'm going to be sending this to Elsie Strum.
You nailed it. I was shocked how fast it happened.
Oh.
It was like, 101. Done. And that was a random number generated by Google. It wasn't in my head and I didn't change it. So.
So I'm going to dry this really quickly. And I just have a few little odds and sods to finish up on this, which I will do in a little bit. And I will sign this for you, Elsie.
You gotta use the gold pen.
Oh, I do. I have a pretty little gold pen. I can use that to sign with. But I will sign it once it's completely finished.
Yeah,
And I'll finish that up
sealed
this afternoon, and we'll make sure it's got a coat of varnish on it so it's protected. And we'll make sure the back is done.
Oh, is it bare?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just raw wood for the time being, but it won't be for long.
It'll be finished up for you, and then we'll send it out to you.
Yeah. So, gang, that is it.
Sorry. There you go.
Goofball.
I
So-
was reading comments,
Oh, okay.
and I turned around and yeah, the scowl.
The scowl. What are you doing? So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on my first what's the word? Voyager voyage into YouTubeville. That's it.
YouTube bill?
Yeah. YouTubeville.
Frontier?
I'm sadly lacking in vocabulary today, so my first foray, that's the word I was looking for.
Ah.
My brain shut off. So that is our first See, I lost it again.
Yeah, it's okay.
Into YouTube world. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. We'd really like to hear some of your feedback. So if you want to fire us off a comment from the website, again, go to that little message box right on the front page of the website. Down the right-hand corner, there's a little speech bubble, and you can send us a message through that, and it will get to us. It comes directly to me, so we get to see them right away. We don't have to wait for to check our email. It comes right to me. So please, we'd love your feedback. If you think that we should continue doing the YouTube ones, we'd love to know. So for next week,
We will be on Facebook.
we will be on Facebook once we make a decision to see how well this one went.
We might change platforms.
We may change platforms, but we'll see. Anyway, so I really appreciate you guys coming today, because that means an awful lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Renee too, because he's been working very hard to help me with all of these, and we're having a blast doing it. We get to spend a lot of time together, which is never a bad thing. So for next week, make sure you get those brushes warmed up. Hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel so that you know what is when it comes live, and what new videos we've posted on there. And what else?
I guess congrats to Kathy Barnett,
Yeah.
Jessica Gilleran, and Elsie Strom.
Elsie Strom. Excellent. All right, ladies, your goodies, just send us your shipping information through the message service on my website, and we will have those shipped out to you this week.
Do you have a sample for next week?
I do, but I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. It's painted. I have several painted. I just don't know which one. So if you have any suggestions, I'm open to hearing those too. So I know I had posted a question on my Facebook page asking people what they would like to see me paint. You guys had some great ideas. The one that got the most was the Oh Holy Night, but I can't do that one as a live for a while because I'm teaching that in a Zoom class in the next couple of weeks. So that one was out of the question. However, I'm more than excited and more than happy to see what you'd like to learn, because I'm more than happy to teach whatever you want. So having said all of that, we have gone into red on the East Coast here. And so things are, pretty much locked down. There's a lot of things we can't do. We have to isolate at home as much as possible, and we're fairly limited. And I know that there's a lot of you out there in the same situation. So buck up. It will get better pretty soon. Vaccinations are on their way, and hopefully all of this nonsense will be over before too long. In the meantime, guys, stay safe, and Love you.